the hidden costs of poverty. Because, as it turns out, having less money actually makes your life significantly more expensive.
Just think about your everyday expenses for a second. If you're poor, you often end up paying more for food.
You end up paying more for housing. And you absolutely pay a massive premium just for the privilege of borrowing money. Okay, let's dive into this. Because if you're struggling financially, shouldn't things cost less? Well, the really shocking reality we find in the source material is that most people don't even realize this trap is happening right under our noses. Poverty isn't just, having a low balance in your bank account. Not at all. It's actually about being locked inside this incredibly rigid system where every single tiny setback automatically generates another bill. And getting out, it becomes almost impossibly difficult.
To really see how this all builds up, let's look at this absolutely brilliant concept from 1993 by the fantasy author Terry Pratchett. It's known as the boots theory, and it just so vividly illustrates this exact trap. Okay, imagine two buyers. Now, the wealthy person has capital up front, right? So they buy a really high-quality pair of boots for, say, $100. Those boots are super sturdy, and they last for 10 whole years. But the poor person? They only have $20 to their name for shoes, so they're forced to buy a cheap $20 pair. But those cheap boots, they're flimsy, they leak in the rain, and they completely wear out within a single year. Which means every single year they have to scrape together another $20 just to buy another pair.
Now let's just look at the math over a decade. After 10 years, the wealthy person has spent exactly $100 total on footwear. But the poor person? They've spent a whopping $200. It's a shocking mathematical punchline. I mean, they literally spent twice as much money. And the really cruel irony here is that they probably had wet feet the entire time. Being poor literally means constantly paying for short-term survival, simply because you cannot afford the upfront cost of long-term savings.
And that perfectly brings us to the formal economic term for this whole thing, the poverty premium. This is the economic phenomenon where people with the least money actually pay the highest prices for essential goods because they can't afford bulk savings. Think about walking into your local grocery store. It is demonstrably, mathematically cheaper per unit to buy a giant mega pack of toilet paper or cleaning supplies. But if you only have exactly enough cash in your pocket to get through today, you're forced to buy the smallest, single-use, most expensive options on the shelf. For the most basic, bare-bones essentials, the people with the least amount of cash literally hand over the most money per unit. Crazy, right? But let's look at how this scales up from everyday groceries to massive emergencies. Like, say, transportation. Let's say you get hit with a $500 car repair bill. If you're financially secure, well, it's super frustrating, sure, but you just pay it and move on. But if you're living paycheck to paycheck, it's an absolute catastrophe. You might miss a shift at work, which means losing income. Since you don't have savings, you have to borrow money just to fix the car, which immediately adds interest. Maybe the stress of that makes you miss a payment on your electricity bill, and bam, suddenly late fees are added. Very quickly, what started as a basic $500 mechanical failure acts like a spreading crack in a piece of glass. It balloons into $700, then $900, or even more in debt. A simple mechanical problem instantly mutates into a long-term financial burden.
And this brilliantly illustrates one of these strangest, really most cruel contradictions in our modern society. The people who need money the most pay the highest price to borrow it. Think about it. If you're a wealthy borrower, traditional banks will practically bend over backward competing for your business. You get lower interest rates, fancy premium credit cards, excellent terms on a mortgage. But if you're a struggling borrower, traditional credit completely vanishes. You are forced to turn to things like payday loans, high-interest financing, or sketchy emergency borrowing. These are solutions designed to solve today's immediate crisis, sure, but they are absolutely guaranteed to create a much bigger, much more expensive problem tomorrow. But here is where the story shifts gears, from your wallet to your actual body. Because the stress of living in this system isn't just financial, it is intensely biological. Just think about the massive toll that takes on a person's everyday mental bandwidth. I want you to just imagine juggling a handful of glass balls all at once. Every single ball represents something absolutely essential for your survival. Rent, food, transportation, childcare, electricity, healthcare. Now imagine trying to keep all of these glass balls in the air with absolutely no safety net below you. Dropping even one of these triggers absolute chaos in a person's life. The sheer mental effort required just to keep these basic, everyday systems running, it is completely exhausting. And this relentless daily pressure creates what economists call the scarcity effect. This is what happens when severely limited resources force the human mind to focus intensely on immediate problems, completely at the expense of long-term planning. So the crucial takeaway here is this. What we sometimes look at from the outside and judge as bad financial choices are very often not caused by laziness or irresponsibility at all. I mean, when you are terrified about how you're literally going to put dinner on the table tonight, trying to think about retirement savings 20 years from now isn't just difficult, it is almost impossible. The immediate pressure of basic survival completely crowds out everything else in your brain. And because of that lost mental bandwidth, we uncover another utterly devastating hidden cost: time. Financial stability literally buys you time. You can pay for grocery delivery, you can hire someone to fix a broken fridge, or you can take paid time off work to solve a crisis quickly. But in a state of financial scarcity, you have to spend hours and hours solving those exact same problems yourself. By waiting in long lines, taking 3 different slow buses across town, painstakingly comparing prices at different stores, negotiating complex payment plans, or working grueling extra shifts just to cover the gap. Time becomes the currency the poor are forced to spend. And unlike money, you can never, ever earn that time back. Now, let's transition to the ultimate hidden cost. It's not the boots, it's not the high interest rates, and it's not even time. It's opportunity. Imagine 2 young kids. Both of them are equally intelligent, equally ambitious, completely full of potential. But child A grows up with financial stability, while child B grows up in a state of constant grinding scarcity. Their lives completely diverge, long before either of them ever earns their very first paycheck. Child A has a pretty clear paved path, right? Access to well-funded education, safe neighborhoods, consistent health care, reliable transportation, and eventually built-in professional networks. And every single one of these advantages aggressively compounds over time, exactly like compound interest in a bank account. But for child B, the disadvantages and those missed opportunities aggressively compound over a lifetime as well. One missed opportunity directly leads to another. The promotion they couldn't pursue because of the bus schedule, the extra certification class they couldn't afford, the small business they couldn't start, the risk they simply couldn't take. These opportunity costs, they never ever appear on a physical receipt, but make no mistake, they are the most expensive costs of all. So if we take a step back from everything we've looked at today, here is the real poor revelation of this explainer. Poverty creates friction. It is not just a simple lack of money in your pocket. It is an invisible, heavy, completely suffocating system where everyday tasks are inherently harder, where simple problems are exponentially more expensive, and where tiny little setbacks become major life crises. It is exactly like trying to climb a mountain while carrying a massive, heavy backpack of rocks that others never have to carry. The cruel irony of it all is that being poor is often one of the most wildly expensive experiences a person can have. Which brings us to a final thought I really want to leave you with today. When we finally start to recognize these invisible costs and these hidden systems, we stop seeing poverty merely as a personal failure. We actually start seeing the mechanics of the trap. And we have to ask ourselves, the difference between stability and struggle, is it actually a lot smaller than we think? Because often it's just one unexpected emergency, one bad accident, or one missed paycheck that separates a perfectly stable person from this hidden punishing system. If this explainer changed the way you think about this issue even a little bit, I highly encourage you to seek out more explainers like this to uncover the hidden forces shaping our world. Thank you so much for learning with me today.